We're talking with special guest Thomas Richardson. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Trevor.
Thomas is an accomplished practitioner, teacher, and author from Boulder, Colorado. Thomas is a long-term student and teaching assistant of Dr. William Morris, the creator of Neoclassical pulse diagnosis. Currently, Thomas is assisting William Morris on working on a soon-to-be-published book on the same topic. Welcome to Australia and welcome to China Books.
Thank you, Trevor. It's great to be here.
Can you tell me a little bit about Neoclassical pulse for a start, and then maybe what's the difference between Neoclassical pulse and other pulse taking?
Of course. So, Neoclassical pulse diagnosis is a form of pulse diagnosis that has been developed by Will Morris, and it's based on the Pulse Classic, the Meijing by Wang Shuhe. And so in the Meijing, Wang Shuhe lays out a number of different ways of diagnosing channel imbalances. So the extraordinary vessels, the 6 channels, and other methods of pulse diagnosis that are related specifically to diagnosing imbalances in the channels or when certain channels are more active or engaged. And so with Neoclassical pulse diagnosis, one of the reasons I appreciate it is that Will has taken that body of work by Wang Shuhe and distilled it into methods that are very easy to learn relatively quickly and apply relatively quickly that get clinical results almost instantaneously. And what's nice is that he's distilled it, and I've sometimes given him trouble. I've harassed him a little bit for cherry picking because after I learned this from him and was getting into it, I went back and I read the Meijing. And I could see where he was taking certain things and leaving them out. But the beauty of that is that you don't have to practice or study with a mentor for 10 or 15 years to become effective with the pulse. Often you can learn these methods very quickly, even in a 2-day seminar, and start applying them immediately and see the difference.
Yeah, fabulous.
And so the system is designed to lead the practitioner directly to points on the acupuncture channels that will not only shift the pulse in a more balanced direction, but also immediately shift symptoms and the patient's internal state. So, for example, often I can take the pulse and perhaps there's a Daimai pulse presentation present. And I can needle gallbladder 41 and maybe liver 13 or a couple points along the Daimai, and almost immediately that will shift into a more even presentation across the pulse. And as soon as the pulse shifts in that direction, you also know as a practitioner that the patient has experienced changes internally that are going to affect their symptoms as well as often their state of consciousness. So when I feel that shift in the pulse, I can ask the patient, do you feel different? Do you feel any shifts internally? And almost always they'll say, yes, I feel more grounded, I feel calmer, the pain has diminished. And so that's one of the nice things about the system is that it's a form of biofeedback where you can insert a needle and get immediate response that you know is having an impact for the patient as well.
Yeah. Extraordinary channels. Why do you use the extraordinary channels?
So, I love the extraordinary vessels for many reasons. I think that for me, they also speak to what I mentioned earlier about the time that we're in, socially and culturally as a world, and there's a lot of trauma that people experience. You know, there's major trauma, obviously, from wars and violence and all of that, but also I think that there's traumas on a daily basis, just from living in society and being in cities and urban areas and traffic, and you know, the nervous system is constantly hyperactivated and more likely to be in a sympathetic state. And one of the fortes of the extraordinary vessels is to help restore the original connection within the self and to our purpose and to heaven above and earth below. And so they're really meant for times of great change and transition and trauma. and to help us remember our source and our core and what we're actually here for, and to help us feel connected to something beyond our limited individual being. Because when we're in the sympathetic state and we have the fight or flight response, it's very easy to feel disconnected from the world around us and to see other people and the world as more of a threat, more of an adversarial mindset, versus seeing other people as potential friends or trusting in the general flow of life. And when we act from that place, often we're more likely to make our fears become a reality. And so the extraordinary vessels help to reset all of that and help us feel more in flow and in connection to ourselves and to the world around us, and therefore to bring a greater degree of harmony and help us to make more of a harmonious world manifest. I see primarily pain. I treat a lot of pain cases. I also work with a lot of digestive issues and some allergies. Previously, my first practice was in Rapid City, South Dakota, and there I worked a lot with the Veterans Administration, and so I worked with a lot of patients who had chronic pain, insomnia, a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder, and that was part of what originally got me interested in working with trauma, was seeing how effectively acupuncture in general and these methods in particular worked for dealing with trauma and helping to heal trauma. I also, when I was in South Dakota, worked with the Rocky Mountain Fertility Center. And so I did a lot of helping to boost fertility, as well as being a complement during IVF procedures. So.